World Sindhi Congress. Hafeezan also served WSC, being a member of the executive committee and various other UK and Europe organizing committees. So Hafeezan, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shasa. I'm very thankful to all the guests and panelists are here to join us on this conference. And this conference is all about Sindh's current issues and the geopolitical situation. So let me give you some introduction about my what Sindh was before 77 years ago. Our land is ancient, soil was fertile, history glorious, from Mohenjo-daro to Shahti Pitai, and Sindh has always been a cradle of civilization, culture, and wisdom. We are backbone of the state. Over 70 years of Pakistan's gas comes from Sindh, and it's not only about this, but there's 100,000 other issues that need to be discussed and highlighted. But there are the only few things we need to discuss here, which has been impact on the Sindh's culture, language, and economy, poverty, water resources, natural resources, and other 100,000 things been taken away from our land. So the Sindh is the backbone of the Pakistan. They provide the 70% of gas to the state. Coal can power the nation for generations, and Sindh contributions more than 70% of total federal revenues. Yet the poverty is high. 60% people they live under the poverty, and there are children they are out of the schools. 7,500 schools are closed. And there was, before the flood, there were people over on the street. They were doing the demonstration for the water. And on that time, the Punjab was filling up their dams, canals, and everything. And when the water, and we were, our land, our children, our farmers, they were just giving the water with this glass of water to their fertile land, so their seeds would not destroy. So this was the situation about 2 months ago. Now, once they got more of water, now Sindh is drowned. So this was like it's not been happening. This has been happening for the last 70 years, and since it's not been treated as a partner of this federation, but is as a colony, because our wealth is systematically looted, our land seized, our people reduced to strangers in their own homeland. And there's a lot of voices raised, and those voices being missed, and those voices being killed, and those voices being abducted. And every year we come to the UN to raise our voice, to release our missing persons, children, minorities. And there are, this tragedy has been happening, and it looks like it's not being stopped. And this is the tragedy of Sindh, in oppressed nation forced to bear the weight of occupation. And look at the crimes committed against the land. There are two issues that needs to be highlighted. One is the land grabbing, which has been happening in the name of the corporate farming. And another issue is the canals on Indus rivers for the Green Initiative, and those are systematically taken away from us. Two, one, they give us, we are the fertile agriculture province. One side, our water is taken away, so our poverty will increase, crime will increase, and our ecosystem delta is already 90% vanished. And the mangroves who hold the flood is already completely vanished. And the fish for the people who are there. And every year, every day, 96 acres of the land is engulfed by the sea because of not getting enough water. So this is the issue which is directly impact on every person Sindhi is living on their own land. One day we are trying for the water, drop of water. Other day when they have a flood, they drown Sindh with water. It's not only that the Sindh economy, we give the 70% gas, as I mentioned. Sindh is the backbone of the state, and we give the maximum revenue on the return what we get. the poverty, hunger, starving children. Even the mothers living in the third park and the desert is their breast doesn't have a drop of milk to feed their children. There was a recent incident happened in the Ligari Goat, where the humanitarian natural activist, the person, lovely farmer, they hold a protest in the Moro and they were shot by the Pakistan's proxies, government and the people. So these are kind of incidents are happening to shut our mouth, to giving a message to be quiet. If you speak, you will be, this is going to be happening to you. But the people who are the indigenous people, they will not sit down, they will not be quiet. And what happened in this Bajarani Goat, 64 people, they were held by the army and they are still disappeared, as my colleague Ali mentioned in the protest, Jatoi. And the mother they were starving, and mother, they took the child and she drowned, did suicide on the river because of the hunger. It's the one incident, but the 60% people are under the poverty. They're living only one time's meal, barely they afford it because of this corruption, because of the army, because after the bureaucracy. If we see that within the country, there is another country. One country for the poor people are starving, and another country for the people on the top, they are just kings, and they're holding every penny of the poor peoples. They deserve a better life. In Sindh, what is happening, if I just give you some facts and figures, don't want to go in further details. The most recently what happened here, it's just a few cities, they're mostly occupied. This is only a tip of the ice, but there is 1,000 and millions acres been taken by the army and is in the name of some other private organizations. But in Chicago, if we look at it, there's 9,000 acres forest land, which were over to Pakistan Army. In Jamshoro, 8,500 acres were transferred away to the army. In Kathur, pool is 8,000 acres land grabbed by DHA, which you see there was beautiful mountains, they've been flat down, and they make a Beria town is a country cities. They were given a 54,000 acres, but there are more greed and they are still diminishing those villages and their graveyard, and they're erasing the landmarks such as the Bhitais Takia, which was the very sentimental place for our Sindhi people, where the most famous poet Shabdulati Bhitais Takia was there, and they make the toilets there. This is very historical misfortune is happening in the Sindh. In Karachi, there are 6 cantonments occupied 26,000 of commercial and residential purposes, and another 17,000 acres of the military use. And now, under the banner of the corporate farming, they seized 150,000 acres of Sindh's land, displacing indigenous peoples from their ancestral soils. It's not only that, but our fertile land, which feed our people, that fertile land is gonna make the concrete city for their schemes, so they can earn the money from there and they make their own cantonment. It's not only cantonments, but there are other consequences. They're taking the control demographically of the Sindh and making us narrow, shrink, so we can go into the minority, and the is a genocide in other way, and then our situation will be like the Palestinians, like we see the camp here, and we see the situation here. And after that, in the name of the Green Initiative, they're making the 6 canals, and on these canals they divert the water from Indus water to fertile the Cholistan, which irrigates the 1.2 million acres there, while the Sindh will pay the price. 18 million acres of Sindh's farmland will wither. Already we face 40 or 45% of shortage of water every year, from Badin to Third Parker to Mir Prakash to Umarkot. Farmers are at the tail end of the Indus, are crying out of water. In these canals are built, since fertile land will turn into desert, livelihood will collapse, and millions will be forced into the migration and destitution. It's not only that, as I mentioned, is taking the control, is our identity, is our culture, is our language, is our right of governance. So these are all situations is happening in Sindh, is happening in Balochistan, is happening in other part, but we are the one is suffering most and paying the price, being a part of the Pakistan. So here is a message, is a time to think about it, and Sindhi people, if you push them on the walls, the reaction will be very, very, very severe. So we want the international community to take action, intervene on it, and control on these armies where they're giving the lots of funds to them, ask them where these funds being utilized for the human rights or for against the human rights. So I'm not going to further in detail because we've got a nice thoughtful guest here. They will talk more on these issues. So thank you very much. I leave the floor.